talked about recruiting, but now you're transitioning from high school to college, and I think that can be an interesting, sometimes challenging process. What was the biggest challenge for you in that transition? For me, I'll just be really transparent. It was the conditioning piece of it, and it's not even so much like, oh, like you're not in shape or something, because I think I went into Virginia really in shape. I did really well on our conditioning tests, all that stuff, but it's just like the sheer amount of training. Like, you're conditioning maybe like 2 or 3 times a week, you're lifting 2 or 3 times a week, you go in the summer, you're playing pickup all the time, like you're always in practice, and your body just like, it's like, I mean, I felt like I was dying. Like, I felt like I was dying, but it's fine. Like, I'm here, so I live. But, you know, what about for you, Keys? How was your transition?
I think the biggest thing was the scheduling of everything. So, you know, 6 a.m. workouts and making sure I'm getting there, like terrified, literally having nightmares because I think I'm going to miss
Yeah, like the fear of being late. It's like haunting. To this day.
Oh my gosh.
And then conditioning for me, we had a 3-mile test.
Oh.
Are you cross country?
Yeah, it's a basketball.
Listen, and I hope my head coach watches this because he has since moved away from this 3-mile test. But he was so sure. If I see him today, he will say, "Keys, it built your character." For 4 years, y'all, this test terrified me year after year. But anyway, so I'd have nightmares about not waking up or like not doing well at our conditioning. I mean, we were running miles every day, just. So.
3 miles.
Yeah, it was a rough time. Just from that, like I could do it, but it just weighed so much on me, and so I would probably say that.
Yeah. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, I think the basketball. I think I had like 2 different transitions. Like basketball was a whole thing in itself. You know, the conditioning aspects, like y'all touched on, and all the physical stuff. But I think like I was kind of homesick, to be honest. I mean, I was 5 hours away from home. I'm a homebody, and me and my family were close. Just adjusting to having a bunch of people around you that were familiar and that you loved and that knew you, to pretty much having a bunch of new people around. And you're going through like one of the most challenging things you've ever done physically. I think that was hard for me. You know, just calling family and then calling other friends that didn't play sports. That's not a good idea at the very beginning.
No idea.
They're like, oh, freshman year has been so great. And
going out on Thursday.
And you're like, what is that?
Yeah. Exactly.
A social event?
So just a little bit of that transition, which I think being homesick or just being away from home and having to do things that you haven't done before is a big transition for a lot of young, college kids. But then you put the basketball on top of it, and it was a lot.
Yeah. And you talked about like family, like the homesickness. I did not struggle with that until it was like super delayed. I feel like by my sophomore year, I was like, take me home. I've been there for a year. So, I mean, ridiculous. But how did you deal with that? How did you deal with that? Like, were you calling your parents all the time, or did you realize like, I can't do that? Like,
right. Yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning I was trying to like keep them involved in what I was doing, but then I knew, I mean, even my parents too, they'll tell me now, they have to be like, hey, you can't talk to your mom, like you can only talk to your dad, because dad's just gonna like push you on to go further. And my mom felt bad for me, like, is she really okay? But I think that's natural for moms.
Right, they're like, come home.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think like sharing about the fact that you were homesick too is probably helpful, and I don't know if I did that enough. Just talking about it. I was probably sad too often by myself, but yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Cassidy?
For me, for once in my life, it wasn't like emotional. The hardest thing for me was the offense. So I was one of 2 freshmen that came in, and Samford is notorious, at least under our previous coach, for running the Princeton. And the Princeton is like, for people that don't know what it is, it's like so structured and rigid, robotic, and there's like everything is like facilitated.
Right.
It's
you do something someone else has to.
And if you mess up, it messes the play up.
Yes.
So,
So
Yeah.
normally, from what previous players told me, is like whenever a bigger like class of freshmen came in, like 4 or 5 girls, he would take the time out to do like skill workouts that really broke down the offense and like really helped you learn it.
Mm-hmm.
But since there were only 2 of us, my coach, I literally remember him telling me, like, quote, "It's not very efficient with our time to teach just 2 girls the offense. Like, it's not efficient." He said, "We're just going to throw you in with the Wolves and see how you do."
Oh, good.
So as a freshman, I'm like, you know, my eye like started to twitch. Wait, what?
The Wolves.
So, yeah. So it was like, that wasn't very, you know, conducive to my growth. So, you know, and it's hard to like play naturally and really like, you know, play well and play like yourself whenever you don't know what you're doing and whenever you don't know the plays and you're constantly, like, basketball players that are thinking too much are not very good at all. So that was very hard because, of course, like, then I'm fighting the, you know I'm better than this, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm being prepared enough to succeed.
Right.
So then that kind of turned into, like, an emotional battle. But at the end of the day, like, number one, whenever I was getting recruited, I should have done more research as to what offense they ran. Because it seems like a really pointless thing. Like, oh, it's just an offense.
Right.
It matters. It matters.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like,
Well, especially if there's so much structure. Like,
Yes.
like Sanford is known. I mean, I played against your school when you had that coach, and you guys were known for that. You were known for being very smart and very, like, you know, set in your ways, and you're gonna get beat if you don't guard a back door or a fake, you know, ball screen or
Right.
whatever was happening.
right.
Whatever you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And we had our heads spinning most of the time. And there's too many shooters on the floor for this.
Yeah. So that was really hard to adjust to. But of course, like, once I just was very determined to learn it because I knew, like, if I want to play, I have to know what the heck is going on. And if I want to feel like myself again and play confidently and, you know, start to notice myself again, I need to, you know, learn this offense. So there wasn't an easy way around it. I just had to learn it. And I feel like I honestly could play for Harvard because I knew, like, that was like the back of my hand. I'm like, Harvard should run the Princeton.
Princeton should run the
Princeton. That's probably what they did. But I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know the history of Princeton. I just wanted to
I think, like, learning the playbook is hard. I think that's something that people don't really talk about. Like, you're excited to go and you're training, like, your body to go. Like, you're working out, you're maybe lifting. Some people don't. I highly recommend, like, don't go in there fresh.
Exactly.
But learning and adjusting is so important. I know for me, we had really good leadership my freshman year. We had 3 seniors and they were tough on us and I hated it. But, like, looking back, they were great leaders and they took us in and, like, really taught us the offense. Did you struggle with learning, like, I guess any of the actual nuances of actually playing the game? Because I feel like no one talks about that.
Not normal process. Per usual. I came in with 9 freshmen at Georgia College. So y'all said 2.
You had a new team. Like,
Yeah,
that's not
Yeah,
even...
so they basically...
Y'all are all learning.
Oh, yeah.
No.
They cleaned house. So my freshman year, obviously, we were learning everything, slowed down. But that also causes a lot of problems as well. And there's a lot of growing pains in the game.
Yeah.
Y'all,
What?
let me just tell y'all, our first game ever as college basketball players against Auburn. As a D2 school, we
Collective
walk
laugh.
in, basically fresh 18-year-olds, like, so that was a horrible experience. But yeah, that I think the idea of, it's a learning curve. I mean, at the end of the day, there's just no way around it. I don't care how prepared you are. I mean, I guess you could have studied the Princeton offense, and that probably, that would have put you ahead. But, like, at the end of the day,
No.
at the end of the day, you were gonna have growing pains with that, one way or the other. But yeah, for me, it was just kind of learning on the fly with the other 8 of us.
Yeah.
But it was like the game speed, like that. I mean, that was huge again because we were getting acclimated during the game because we're practicing against each other. So it was like we get into the game, and I mean, the speed is just. I mean, it's a huge difference.
Yeah. What about academically? I know I mean, all of our schools are good academic institutions, and I think I felt like I was pretty prepared going to UVA. I feel like actually that was probably the part that I thrived in the most because I'm a nerd and I loved it. But I think some people really do struggle with just like, it's not even so much school. I think it's just like the schedule.
Yeah.
Like you're waking up, you have lift maybe at like 6. You're going to class for a certain amount of time. You're coming back to the gym, getting treatment or prepped for practice. Then you have like maybe a film session or something else at the end.
Yeah.
You're going to study hall, and then you're tired. Like, you got to go eat and do homework and go to bed. Like, and then because homework comes at the end of the day, you're like, I might just go to bed. Like, I might just do that. So how was, like, the academic transition for you guys?
The transition was fine academically. I think the same way. Like, that was probably a part that I thrived in. I've always liked school, and school definitely was not my focus, like, going in, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I pretty much knew that I was going to be okay with school, and so most of my focus was towards basketball. But if you're not that way, I can see how it would be really difficult to, you know, if academics was something that you had to work very hard at, you don't have a lot of time for that, so you have to use your time well. I mean, using study hall, I just remember going to study hall, and at App, if you kept your GPA or if you made certain grades your first semester freshman year, you didn't have to do study hall second semester and stuff like that. So there was some motivation to do what we needed to do. But yeah, the academic piece, we had an amazing academic advisor, and she was one of those people, like you were talking about, Keys, that she helped with our academics, but also our mental health and just she was a person outside the program that we really, you know, hung on to, so.
I think it's funny. I think the best academic coordinators or counselors are actually like legitimate. Like I feel like they're legitimately counselors. Like I know I'm like, practice will stable, and they're like, you're gonna be fine, but how are your grades?
Right.
And so like I think they're good. They help you balance and like just find sanity. And I think that's something that if you have a chance as a recruit to ask questions and get to know them. I know I was introduced to mine. I had 2.
Yeah.
And like the support staff is so important. Like the people who they're like kind of swinging you by and they're like, oh, this is who, like, no, sit and talk, get to know them. Because
ask those people questions.
Yeah.
Because they are outside of the program.
Yeah.
And they really are here solely for the girls, solely for your team. And I think asking those people questions would be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you, I guess, like, what advice would you give to girls as they're preparing for college? I know there's a lot that you just have to learn on the fly. Like, you got to be on the ground to learn it. But what's one thing that you wish that you would have done in high school that would have prepared you? I think for me, it would have just been like going to counseling in general. I was introduced to counseling in college because I was anxious all the time and like there's just a huge transition. But I feel like mastering the mental side of it would have really helped me early on. And so what do you think, Keys?
I think the biggest issues I had, again, aside from, you know, you're getting that learning curve of your scheduling and time management, that aspect of things. Just a social aspect with my teammates, I think was, I would say, interesting at the very least. And just, like, I was not someone, I didn't want to go out with the team necessarily. Like the bar scene was just not my thing. And so that ostracized me a good bit from the rest of the team. And so I think just going in, trying to find your community, finding your people early on, whether that's on your team or not. I mean, I would suggest you find a community within your team, obviously, because you will be with them for a lot of those hours. But just, finding ways to get connected, like, as soon as you get there. And again, I know you can't be prepared for that, but maybe start to look at those resources that are around prior to getting there. Look on the website, ask someone on the team, like, hey, do you know if they have this club on campus? Do they have this?
What do you do outside of
right.
basketball?
Yeah.
Just with all that time.
all that extra time you have, girl, where are you going? But just doing some homework on how you can try to find people with like-mindedness. So
Definitely. Yeah. What about you, Cassie?
It's like so much easier said than done, but it's kind of like adapting the mindset of like not putting all of your eggs in one basket.
yes.
Like, because I poured everything into school. Like, I was a and not because I did care about it, but mainly because I'm a perfectionist and I like want to give and produce the absolute best work like ever. Like I would rewrite papers because I'm like, I don't think I said that perfectly. And
Cassidy.
like,
come on now, girl.
am I preaching sometimes? But like, I just feel like I was constantly in a state of like, my life relied on this, and I poured so much into school, and then I poured so much into basketball. Therefore, my life felt like it was ending if basketball wasn't going well, if I got a bad grade, or if I had a late assignment, that felt like it was falling apart. So I just felt like it wasn't healthy. I had a very skewed life, I guess, in college, but it was only like school and basketball. I didn't do anything else. Anything. Like, I would hang out with like people on the team, but I was the person that was like, you know, I'll be alone in my dorm making my flashcards and like so
Not you.
Hey, you were making fun. I'm just kidding. But I mean, seriously, you are an academic, so you know.
It was like, and I would not identify myself as like some intellect because I'm really not. I'm a tryhard.
Right.
Like,
and I feel like a lot of people
from birth, I'm a tryhard.
And I feel like a lot of people fall into. I mean, if you're a college athlete,
Yes.
you may actually fall into the tryhard category. So I mean, maybe it just is like that for you with athletics, but like I'm like rolling my eyes. Literally, I'm right there with you. Like I wasn't making flashcards, but I was like super into my books. Like I wasn't really going out like that. And I remember when I would, people would be like, "Is this a big weekend?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." But like, no, I totally get that. And so finding balance is huge. And when did you start finding that?
I still haven't found that. Still
a
working
try
on that now. It's still try hard. And like I said, it's easier said than done. And like, I even feel just silly trying to give that advice to somebody that's like that young because, I mean, who really has that completely figured out, you know?
Yeah.
So I would just say, like, at least like have that thought in the back of your mind. So if you do, and like being aware if you do start to get like that, you know, like putting way too much of your efforts and identity in basketball or school or your social life, people are probably going to be skewed in like so many different ways. Like mine was just, you know, school and basketball. So I guess just like being aware if that happens to you and then just like making your best effort to, you know, be a little bit more spread out, well-rounded, because it'll overall like help your mental health, your head.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have any outlets during your freshman year in particular?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I'm in a similar situation with Cassidy. I came in with one other girl, and so everyone else was, we thought, adjusted. You know,
everyone looks like they know their job.
Right. Oh, they sure looked like it on the court. You know, it was like, pick a partner for this drill, and me and my roommate are like looking at each other. We're like, it's gonna be me and you, and they already know what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, yeah, they would do that. So that
Gotta pick who you can be successful with. Like,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was rude of them. They should. No, they are, because they wanted to show us, like, hey, we're about to show you how to do this, and that was tough because we lost. But no, she was fantastic. But she really was. I think like finding outlets, it was a balance because I want to answer this and be like, hey, find people outside of your sport and friends in your class that you can relate to, but those people just don't get it. And you can
the trenches.
One more time.
Yeah.
Most people just don't get it. One more
yeah,
time.
they really don't, and it's hard too because I think we might get to this, but your teammates are really the only ones that get it. But at the same time, you're competing so much, and it's hard to really be like vulnerable with them because you want to look strong and like you have it together and that you're adjusting well and all the above. So, I mean, I think I did have balance. I did have some friends outside of basketball and in my classes, but I really think like trying to bond with your teammates and knowing them on a personal level. Like, try not to talk about basketball when you're together. Right. You know, that's a good one. It's hard. But ask them about family and things. because I think it can only help. Like we spend so much time competing that, you know, it's easy to get frustrated with them when, if you know more about them, you know, I don't know, just finding common ground, because it'll definitely make you a better team, but it'll help you, like, you know, individually, I think.
Yeah.
Just like leaning on each other. I don't think I did that as well until later on.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit the bell notifications so that you don't miss a video that we put out. Keep in mind, RCA is a podcast, so you can check us out wherever you stream podcasts. Also, follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, and if you really love our content, you can become a patron. You give to us monthly, and we give you exclusive content. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.